A couple who met on a rainy day at a bus stop. Have you ever wondered how a single rainy day can change the course of two lives forever? This is the story of Emma and Daniel, two strangers whose paths crossed at a small bus stop on an unforgettable afternoon. It was late October. Dark clouds covered the sky, and heavy rain poured over the city. People hurried through the streets, trying to avoid getting soaked. Emma stood alone beneath a bus stop shelter, clutching a small blue umbrella. She had just finished a difficult day at work. Her company had announced layoffs, and although she still had her job, the uncertainty weighed heavily on her mind. She stared at the rain and sighed. A few moments later, a young man ran toward the shelter. His jacket was completely drenched. "Looks like I underestimated the weather," he said with a nervous laugh. Emma smiled politely. The man shook the water from his sleeves. "I'm Daniel, by the way." Emma. Neither of them knew it then, but this simple introduction would become one of the most important moments of their lives. The rain continued to fall harder. Minutes passed, then 30 minutes, then an hour. The buses had stopped running because of severe flooding in several parts of the city. The small shelter became crowded with frustrated commuters. Daniel noticed Emma shivering. "Would you like some coffee?" he asked. "There's a cafe across the street."
Emma hesitated. Normally, she never accepted invitations from strangers, but something about Daniel felt genuine. "Sure," she replied. Together, they crossed the street through the pouring rain. Inside the cafe, warm lights created a cozy atmosphere. They ordered coffee and found a table near the window. At first, the conversation was simple. They talked about work, favorite movies, travel dreams, childhood memories. Hours passed so quickly that neither of them noticed. For the first time in months, Emma found herself laughing. Daniel felt the same. When evening arrived, the rain finally slowed. Outside, the city reflected thousands of lights on the wet pavement. Daniel glanced at his watch. "I should probably head home." Emma nodded. "Me too." An awkward silence followed. Neither wanted the conversation to end. Finally, Daniel smiled. "Would it be strange if I asked for your number?" Emma laughed. "Not as strange as spending 5 hours talking to someone you just met." They exchanged numbers. Then they walked in opposite directions, but both secretly hoped it wouldn't be the last time. The next morning, Emma received a text message. "Good morning. The weather forecast says sunshine today. I think we survived the storm." She smiled instantly. Their messages became daily conversations. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Soon they were meeting regularly, sometimes for coffee, sometimes for dinner, sometimes simply to walk through the city and talk. The more they learned about each other, the stronger their connection became. Daniel admired Emma's kindness and determination. Emma admired Daniel's optimism and honesty. For the first time in years, both felt truly understood. 6 months later, Daniel officially asked Emma to be his girlfriend. They were sitting on a park bench overlooking a lake. "Every good thing in my life seems to have started at that bus stop," Daniel said. Emma smiled. "So, is that your way of asking me out?" "No," he grinned. "This is." Emma laughed and said yes. Life seemed perfect. But every love story faces challenges. 1 year later, Daniel received a job offer in another city. The opportunity could transform his career. But accepting it meant moving hundreds of miles away. Neither knew what to do. For weeks, they struggled with the decision.
Arguments became more frequent. Fear replaced excitement. One evening, they sat together in silence. "What if distance changes everything?" Emma asked quietly. Daniel looked at her. "What if we don't even try?" Neither had an answer. Eventually, Daniel accepted the position. The day he left was one of the hardest days of their relationship. At the train station, Emma fought back tears. Daniel held her hand. "This isn't goodbye," he promised. "It's just a different chapter." The first few months were difficult. Video calls replaced dinner dates. Text messages replaced long walks. Sometimes loneliness felt overwhelming. Yet they remained committed. Whenever things became difficult, they remembered the rainy afternoon that brought them together. If fate could create that moment, perhaps it could carry them through this challenge too. 2 years passed. The distance never became easier, but their love became stronger. Then one unexpected evening, Daniel called Emma. "I need you to meet me somewhere." "Where?" "The bus stop." Emma laughed. "The bus stop?" "The same one." "Curious," she agreed. When she arrived, memories flooded back instantly. The shelter looked almost unchanged. Rain had begun falling lightly, just like the day they met. Then Daniel appeared. This time, he wasn't carrying a briefcase. He was carrying flowers. He walked toward her with a smile. "3 years ago," he said, "I ran into this bus stop because I forgot my umbrella." Emma laughed through tears. "Best mistake you ever made." Daniel nodded. "Absolutely." Then he knelt on one knee. People nearby stopped to watch. Cars passed slowly through the rain. The entire world seemed to disappear. "Emma," he said, his voice shaking, "you turned an ordinary rainy day into the best years of my life." He opened a small ring box. "Will you marry me?" Tears filled Emma's eyes. For a moment, she couldn't speak. Then she nodded. "Yes." The crowd cheered. The rain continued falling softly around them, but neither cared. Years later, whenever people asked how they met, Emma and Daniel would smile. They would tell the story of a delayed bus, a flooded street, a warm cup of coffee, and a rainy afternoon that changed everything. Because sometimes love doesn't arrive with grand plans. Sometimes it appears quietly beside you at a bus stop on a rainy day. And when you least expect it, a stranger becomes the person you never want to live without. The end.